Hi, I'm Jean Latshaw. I'm with Pedcore Investments, and I'm not sure how many times I've done this panel now, several years. But y'all are going to have to forgive me just a little bit. We changed format a little this year. A few of us have been on this panel several times, and we kind of, have just updated some stuff, but kind of knew what we were doing. And this year, lovely Christy Setterfield, I don't know where she is, and the lovely conference committee decided to change things up a little bit. So we split this into two workshops. So there was a bond workshop earlier this morning. So how many people here went to that? Okay, so a lot of you, but not all of you. And we kind of were trying to split this into two. Our session used to, go pretty long and had a lot of questions and stuff. And so we decided to split it up a little. So I'm going to try to not completely repeat everything that was said in the earlier one. But there might be a little bit of overlap there, but it looks like maybe only half of it to that one anyway. So, that's fine. We can talk about whatever we want. Um,
Trying to make bonds as entertaining as possible.
It's very entertaining. So also, I will say this too. Allison King, I believe, was the moderator on the earlier workshop, and she used to sit on this panel with us. And they had first, before us, the brilliant idea of like a Back to the Future theme. And I'm like, okay, I like it. Let's do 80s time travel movies, right? So who in here has seen Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure? We have a couple ex-Jenners out there, maybe, and like, all right. So anyway, I'm going to blame Allison King and her crew for our theme, but let's be excellent to each other, including our esteemed panelists here. So I'll finish my own introduction really fast, and then I'm going to let these folks introduce themselves. Although we've got a couple of legends up here, I will tell you that. I'm not one of those. I am finishing out my time now on the TAP board. I'm in my last year. I was president of the organization a few years ago, and I just want to thank all of y'all for just being here and for the members out there too. We're very proud. We reached 800 members this year, which is by far a record. I mean, I think when Jim and I and David started coming to this conference, we probably had 300 members, maybe. We'll probably, there's a lot of y'all out there. Our conference is 2,000 plus strong now, and we just really appreciate y'all. Yeah, your time being here. So as a TAP board member, thank you. My paid job. I am a developer for Pedcore Investments. I actually know very little about bond finance. I think it's funny that they always ask me to be in charge of this panel. Some of y'all might recognize my last name. Rob Latshaw is my husband, and he is the executive director of the Bond Review Board, and he knows a lot about bond finance. But we don't talk at dinner that much. We talk about our kids. So he sometimes is able to sit up here, but honestly is working very hard for the state of Texas today and wasn't able to join us. But I don't want anyone in this room to think that I really know much about bond finance at all. These lovely people do, though. So I'll let them introduce themselves.
I'm Dave. I'm with Texas State Affordable Housing Corporation. I actually have a slide, I think, about that, but it's not. We're a statewide nonprofit housing finance corporation. We're not a state agency. I'm not a state employee at all, but we do issue bonds, and we get 10% of the multifamily set aside for the state of Texas. And we run our program a bit differently, but we can go into those questions as we go along. And I have been doing this for 25 plus years now. And I think the first time I sat on a panel, I said, I've been doing this for like a decade. And Jim pointed out, yeah, that's nothing, kid. So thankfully, I've had some great mentors like Jim and everyone else up here to help me through this. So pass it on.
All right. I'm Helen Feinberg with RBC Capital Markets, the tax exempt bond side of RBC, our sister group, RBC Community Investments. So I've been working as a bond underwriter for decades, plural. I'll let folks guess just how many, but it's been quite some time. And I manage RBC's multifamily tax exempt bond practice.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Barry Krinsky. I head up our what we call project finance group at City Community Capital, part of Citibank, and we focus on financing tax exempt transactions.
Oh, first dude, thanks, man.
Hey, easy. No.
Well, I'm Jim Shaw. Work with Capital Area Housing Finance Corporation, and I've prior to that, I'm a recovering developer. I was a single family developer for years before I started doing this. I've been doing this, David, is it 3 years or 30 years? One of the two, I think. So been at it a while, but Capital Area is a 9-county regional housing finance corporation operating under local government code 394. So we do single family first time home buyer and a lot of multifamily in these 9 counties. So good to be here with you today. And I apologize up front. I meant to bring my Magic 8 Ball, but I left it at home. So my Cray supercomputer didn't make the trip with me today.
Next time, Jim. So we can get an idea of who's in the room. This is a comment that I typically have made at the beginning of this too. There was actually a large neighborhood group who got very upset about the fact that I am married to Rob Ladshaw, but the fact is we've got a couple of issuers here. And so just to be clear about how all of this happens, right? Developer, PEDCor, whoever, LDG, NRP, a million other organizations out there go to these issuers, right, with their applications. And then the issuers are the ones that go to the bond review board for that bond allocation. And so in that regard, there's actually no conflict of interest between my relationship as a developer and my husband at the bond review board. Interestingly enough, I used to work for the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, TDHCA, and they serve as an issuer as well. In that capacity, my husband actually did have to recuse himself from TDHCA bond issuances. So I just wanted to kind of be clear of who we've got here. So in the room, developers, raise your hand. A lot of us.
How about developers who've done a bond deal?
Yes, thank you. Developers have done a bond deal. How about developers who only have been in the 9% tax credit world, no bond deals yet? A couple of y'all. And this was something that when we were talking about this, that David brought up, right? It's a different animal for sure, right? Housing tax credits are one thing, and yes, there's one QAP to govern that side of things. But when you tack on the tax exempt bond financing, those deals do not look the same as the 9% deal. So I'm glad that you guys are here and that you're going to join our party. How about issuers? Any issuers in the room? A few, yes. And we're going to talk about maybe we would like to have some more local issuers potentially in Texas. How about lenders and equity providers? A lot of y'all too. Developers, are y'all taking note for sure? And attorneys. And I've got my own there. Okay, so we can talk a little bit freely, I guess, but there are a few attorneys in the room. I am going to go ahead and hand this over to David and your slides that are up there.
That sounds good.
Good. All
Okay.
right.
We can go to the first slide.
Well,
Oh, I
That's
have a
not it.
question? Yeah,
I have a
so
question?
if you do.
Oh,
Glad you
yes.
enjoyed that presentation.
That was
Done?
it.
Yeah, if you have questions, do use the Hoover app and send those along. I'm assuming Jean is going to track that.
I will. I'll take a look at them as we move along.
And I do think there's a poll already as well asking about experience levels for this.
Oh, did you put that on?
Yeah, I did.
Thanks.
Yeah. Here's just the intro to TSHEC, who we are. And then this one is kind of my important one to just say where this data, I'm gonna present a couple slides or several slides on what has happened over the last 18 months First of all, it's important to note that what we're taking data is publicly available. So you all could also do all this work, but why would you when I do it? It's from TDHCA's real estate reports related to 4% tax credit deals. Those may involve other programs, but it does exclude 9% deals or just home loan projects and other things. It's only the 4% projects that have bonds. Did narrow it down to just from January 24 to May 25. TDHA is constantly underwriting deals, so there's always new ones coming out every month. And I do try to track this and update it every 6 months so that I'm up to date with my data. These are released reports. So TDHA has underwritten a deal. They've said, yep, this is good, but it does not mean that the deal actually closed. So that's important to note. They will approve a lot of deals, but there's always attrition. There are deals that run into permit issues or other things, and they just don't get across the finish line, even though they've been approved for the 4% tax credits. I will say, I have scrubbed the data. I've gone through it. I have a staff person who does a lot of the entry, and then I review things. But again, overall accuracy, if you're a developer and you say, hey, it's going to cost me $250,000 to build this unit, that's what you told TDHCA, and that's what got into the underwriting report. That's what's in my report. If a year after you close, it ends up costing you $260,000 to complete that unit, I'm not going to update this data. So that's one of the things I think we all live with, is that the actual cost of things when we do underwriting is a great guess, but it's not the actual final cost. Sometimes things are cheaper. Most of the time, they're a little more expensive. Oh, now we don't have a slide. We're just
What?
us.
Oh, that's
Awesome.
not good.
Um,
Not sure what happened. Maybe I.
Let's
No.
see. Did the guy leave from the back?
Back. No, he's back there.
Oh. Okay,
Oh,
there we go. Okay.
Perfect.
so the next slide.
Party on.
And I'll-
dude.
All right, so the data. A lot of these are real high level things. Some of them I drill down in. First of all, new units versus rehab. This is pretty common. Most of the deals out there approved in 4% and bond world are new construction. During this last 18 months or thereabouts, it's about 15,000 units of new construction and 6,400 of rehab. The next slide is about costs. This one is something that has been trending more 50-50. So it's 287,000 for new construction and 257. It's about a 12% or about 11.5% spread. This used to be closer to 20 or 25% around 10 to 15 years ago. So we're seeing that gap between rehab and new construction narrow. And it's getting almost, it's still a 10% or 11% there, but it's getting narrower. The next one is by population. By far, the biggest one is family. That's that 19,000 units. Elderly is the next big one. And supportive housing, which is relatively new, did make up 363 units. This is across multiple properties. It's not just one or two properties. And that's a big trend that TDHCA has been pushing, and they've, a lot more deals have tried to get also additional subsidy from like cities of Austin, Dallas, other communities of pushing supportive housing. So they're adding in those 30% AMI units, and they're showing up as supportive housing now. The next one is the cost based on the type of unit of that population. Again, elderly is the lower end, but it's still pretty close to the cost of a family deal. Supportive housing, though, is significantly more. The supportive housing units cost on average $349,000 per unit. And that's we expect that just based on the type of units, where those are typically located, usually in more central areas of downtown or near a lot of high service availability of services. So that's a important one. The next one is bond units by county. And hopefully you can see all this. I know I wanted to fit all the counties. This is all the counties represented in that 18-month period. Harris County did win out. Basically, we can say Harris County won with around 5,400 units, and it does go down there pretty quickly, though. Tarrant had a little over 1,000. I think it was around 1,200 units total, and then it continues to go down. But you'll still see that the larger urban areas are getting the most units. There is still some being done, like in Jefferson County, which is the Beaumont, Port Arthur area, McClellan, which is Waco, and smaller rural areas. The next one, this is average cost based on unit, or based on the county. So this one really surprised me when I ran it, and it was Caldwell County, which is generally considered a rural area. Jim, I hate to say it, this is your deal.
The other MSA.
But it is part of the MSA, and it was 395,000 was the average cost per unit for that county. Higher than Williamson, which is Georgetown Round Rock. Corpus Christi had a very high cost one, but then some of the urban areas did still have high. It was interesting to see that Travis and Dallas were the, well, it was interesting to actually see that Houston wasn't really represented, or Harris County wasn't among the highest cost counties to build in. The next one is issuers. This is our top 10 issuers by volume cap during this time period. Even though Houston or Harris County had the highest number of total units, Travis County HFC was the largest issuer that got approvals with $303 million in approvals. San Antonio Housing Trust PFC was next at 272. TDHJ, they get around $200 million every year. So if they issue all their bonds, they're going to be up there anyways. That's basically them utilizing 100% of their volume cap. And then these other ones you'll see, City of Dallas was surprisingly lower. And I don't think Dallas County HFC made this top 10. So it's interesting to see how they fell. Jim, you are up there again. Capital Area HFC did very good on bond issues, 154 million. And places like Caldwell and the surrounding communities, Hayes County in particular. The next one, this one, we started tracking this one around 2010 when HFCs and PFCs kind of started coming on to the public-private partnerships and in the arena. It was one of those things where it was maybe 2 or 3 deals around 2010 were done with a PFC or HFC structure. I didn't have great data. There's a gap in my data for 2022 and 23. There was a high percentage though, but I wasn't really confident on some of the numbers. We need to go back and scrub them deeper, but it was interesting to see that the for-profits actually are starting to make a lot more ground again, even though HFC and PFC deals have been really predominant. They have, the for-profit developers are still meeting a big gap of this deals. And that inner circle is 2024. You'll see that nonprofits are losing ground, but the for-profits are actually gaining ground on the total number of units being produced each year. So that's an important one. And I know a lot of us have questions about the HB 21. There's a lot of sessions that'll talk about that this week. That was the big HFC bill. But this is kind of an indicator of just how much of the market will be impacted by that change in statute. And I believe that's my last slide. Oh, I do have one more, which is it's not totally red. Anyways, this was actually some surprising little things that I had found. One, there was only one RAD transaction done in the state of Texas during this 18-month period. RAD used to be the craze in the early 2010 to 2020 period, but all I can assume is that just a lot of those RAD deals have been done. There's not a lot of conversions left. There were 15 HAP supported projects, which seems a little bit low for me. I was surprised there wasn't more of those, but again, there's been a lot of transitions, mark to markets and other things over the last 15 years. The number of 30% AMI units you'll see is a little bit different than the number of units I noted as supportive housing. And this is because some deals do put in 30% AMI units, a very small number, and they don't consider themselves supportive housing. So it is interesting, and I think positive to see we are reaching that 30% AMI market without having to have fully supportive housing projects per se. And then this one I got to lean over because I didn't have my. Oh yeah, this one's not a surprise, but Texas a couple sessions ago passed a rule in our statute where the maximum amount you can issue on a project is 55% if the lottery is oversubscribed. Well, the lottery has been oversubscribed for many years, so not surprising, the last 18 months, the average amount of bonds in total development cost has been 54%. The longer data does show that's come down quite a bit. It used to be closer to 60 to 70%, but it is dropped, and we'll continue to see how new legislative changes will impact that. But indications are the lottery may not be oversubscribed this year. And if that's the case, the 55% cap will be a wash, and we might see some larger deals, or at least deals leveraged more with tax-exempt bonds next year. We'll see. So that's my slides. That's all the data.
Perfect.
Hopefully,
All
I spoke
the
so
data.
quickly you have no idea what I actually said.
I think there's some interesting things that I'll make sure that we touch on them and come back to some of the comments that David made, especially with respect to that 55% limitation. And we'll talk through that in conjunction with, the big beautiful bill that just passed as well. But for now, I'm going to stick to our program, and we'll go to Helen. This should be most triumphant.
Awesome. So we'll transition from data to tax-exempt bond best practices. And this slide is meant to be very collaborative among our panel. Every panelist sitting here, I hope, will weigh in and provide their best advice to those up-and-coming developers. So, timing on bond transactions is exceedingly important. And so being very organized and mapping out your timetable is really essential, because once you receive a bond allocation, you have 180 days to close in Texas. And really, time is money. So regardless if you're issuing in Texas or some other location, time is important. So it's important to sequence everything correctly, because the worst thing is, you get a bond allocation and you discover something, and then you have to turn your allocation back in and start all over again. It's not a best practice to do that.
That's why you hire Helen, because if you hire Helen, she will make sure that you are on time and we'll get it closed.
It's all about the timetable.
I'm gonna quickly plug too, if we don't cover all of it here, we actually do have a TAP webinar coming up. I'm a panelist and not a moderator on that one, about specifically that, about timing your applications to your issuer and to BRB, and to where you can close when you think you want to close, right? It's a complicated process, right?
That happens, you're really lucky.
I remember, and this is still not terrible advice, but Teresa Morales, who has been at TDHCA for 20 years, probably, as long as Rob's been at BRB, right? At least. So she used to always say, and of course, this was a different time when we were not oversubscribed for volume cap for a couple decades, right? We all just, and basically said, listen, she said, pick your closing date and then back up, because back then it was 100